All right, guys, I'm back on the throne on the Elite Radio Show right here on 216 The Beat. That was DZ Big Shit. So I appreciate you guys for being on the throne. I slowed down a little bit because I'm excited. I told you, listen, I'm always excited when there's people that I know and like that are going to be my guests on my show. I never have people on that I don't like. Let's just put that on. Let's just put that out there first. But when I can have my favorite people be on the throne with me, that's even more exciting. Okay? So I have one of my favorite people on the throne with me, Korey Buckets. You guys already know who he is. And I have a secret to tell you. Because the first day we posted, I think the first day we posted the flyer to say you were coming back on the throne, it was exactly, you had been on the show exactly 1 year that day. So July 27th, 2019. That's your interview anniversary, your first interview anniversary.
What?
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I got to smoke a cigar to that.
All right, let's do that. Do that for me because I'm in the studio, so I got to be professional. So what's been going on since last year, since our last interview? Like, you're always busy. You're always doing things online. So tell the people what's been going on with you.
Oh, man, what hasn't been going on? We dropped the project, New York Cake. We put that out July 3rd. That's on all streaming platforms, so everybody check that out. I started a podcast, Crush Mics. I'm going to drop an episode this weekend, actually. I'm really humbled by the reception that I've gotten to the whole podcast, the Crush Mic thing. It's like, when I first started, I was like, probably a couple people might watch it. And right. I might do it like 1 or 2 episodes and probably just tap out from there. But, like, surprisingly, like, thousands of people watch it every single time we put these episodes together. So I'm like, hey, if y'all like it, I love it. So let's keep it going.
That's
people
good.
Been hitting me up. Like, man, when the Crush Mics coming back? I took, like, the month of July off because I moved from New York to the DMV area. So it was, like, everything with that and with the project. I just really didn't have time to shoot any episodes. So I'm back to speed. I'm caught up now. And now we're going to drop a new episode this weekend.
Yes. Congrats on the podcast. Isn't it amazing how people can uplift your spirits? Like, sometimes you forget, like, how big you really are and how many people's lives you impact until you actually go and look at stats and the numbers. And you're like, what? This many people?
Right. Right. Because I legitimately thought it was going to be like me and my closest friends watching that. I was like, nobody's going to, like, people not going to watch this. Like, it's just me being stupid and just giving my interpretation on certain things. Yeah. But surprisingly enough, people really like it. And, I mean, when it comes down to it, like they always say, people buy you before they buy anything you're doing. So I feel like that's even more humbling because I feel like people get me more than anything. And then when you got that, anything else just falls in line to me after that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I tell people that a lot of people don't know I own like a media marketing PR firm, and that's one of the things that I like to tell my clients is that people need to know who you are because most people buy into you, and once they like you, they will buy almost anything that you sell. And that's the most important thing. And I think a lot of people forget that. They forget that people have to like you first before they actually purchase your product, unless you're just some major brand and they don't really put that brand with a face.
Right.
But for like things like artists, for like small business owners, entrepreneurs, people buy into your personality first. So I also say that to like the artists that I used to work with, and they're like, man, this dude sucks. How is his music here? How's it there? I'm like, because he's nice. They like him. He's either fun, funny. There's something about his personality that makes people want to see him win or her win, even though their music, quote unquote, sucks. So.
And music being good or bad, a person being nice or not is subjective.
Mhm.
So to me, I might not think artist A is anything, but somebody else might think that that person is the world.
Yeah.
Like they come from where they come from. They speak to a culture that they know about. and they just think that person is the best thing since sliced bread. So I think just finding your market and knowing who you are is like very important for a lot of artists to understand. Like, you don't have to try to follow a trend or something in somebody that you're not just to try to get attention, because it ain't gonna work at the end of the day, and you're not gonna have any longevity trying to be somebody else.
Because you're not being yourself. It's hard trying to be someone else because it doesn't come natural. And that's the other reason why a lot of artists that do try to copy and follow other people, like you said, they don't have longevity, because if you always have to follow someone else's moves and their personality, you have to wait for them to do something before you can do something. You know what I mean? So
remix what they're doing.
Yeah, it's just best to be yourself, because you are yourself every day. And there's always going to be, like you said, someone who enjoys you being yourself and someone who doesn't. And that's fine. You just have to cater to the people who do. That's like being a comedian. Every comedian has their own audience. And there are comedians that some people are like, man, that dude is not funny. Right. But the person sitting next to you, they are cracking up with
they're falling out, right.
Like,
that's a good analogy. Yeah, that's true.
What is it? You know, so... yeah, I think that's something good to have people keep in mind, especially artists, because I think a lot of artists get discouraged when they see other artists winning. And then also, you have to remember that your time is your time, and it may not be, your time may not be Korey Buckets' time. Your time, his time might be right now. And then when you're on a low swing, where you may be on a hiatus, that's when your time is time.
Right.
So, I think those are two things we have to keep in mind. Be yourself. It always works when you're yourself. And also understand that it's your time and no one can stop it or take it away from you. And I think once people realize that, I think they'll be less anxious about winning on someone else's time.
Well, and then you also got to say for you personally, what is winning? Like how do you quantify winning? And what goals did you set to attain to say this is winning? Like, a lot of people look at things that other people have done in the actual result of the work, but they don't know none of the work that was put in to get those results. So they're like, you know, I want this, I want that. But they're doing like 10% of the work that person did and have 10% of the resources that person had to make that. So you, regardless, like one of my things I always say, I don't want to try to be somebody else and it don't work and then see somebody win being me. Like, oh my God, I would be sick. I would be sick. Like, this person is just me.
I would do that because that is me.
Right.
The whole time I'm over here being this guy.
That, the whole time.
Just one being me.
He just one being me. And that happens. That happens. So,
and honestly, you know what's crazy? I think that is genuinely one of the ways that a lot of us get haters. Because I think that a lot of people that hate you, it's not that they hate you, because most of your haters really don't know you. It's the fact that you're doing something that they knew they should have done or could do, and they just didn't do it, and you're doing it, and they're mad because they're like, what the hell? Are you crazy? I was going to do that. This nigga, what?
But I didn't do it because at the time it wasn't the thing to do. There wasn't a comfort zone that I could find in it. So, therefore, I didn't try to do that because there was chance in a gray area in there. People don't want to go with what they think there's a gray area. They're like, if it looked like it's winning, that's what I want to do. It's already winning. Why would I want to do anything else?
It's winning because it's for that person. That's what they forget. It's winning because it's for that person, and they went with what they were supposed to go with. That's why it's winning. And it's not that hard for me to make me look like I'm winning if I'm being genuine to myself. It's not that hard for me to make myself look like I'm winning because I'm doing what I love and what I want to do. So, of course, I look like I'm winning. That's why I tell people all the time, like, be your own version of success. You can't be Korey's version of success. You can't be Cream's version of success because it looks different. Your success may look like a Bentley. Mine may look like a G-Wagon, but that doesn't make your success or my success any less than the other ones. It just looks different. So I'm very happy about you and your podcast and how things are going. I'm glad it surprised you in a good way instead of surprising you like, man, I did this podcast, I found out with nobody rocking with me, so I stopped.
But you know, but to me, like my whole, like who I am as like the person that I always feel like I'm the underdog. I feel like I've gotten much better from my misses than my makes. So even if I did miss that shot, I got to sit back and think of why I missed it and figure it out for the next time to make them shots. So I don't never see nothing as a negative. Like, when I throw something out there and it don't get the reception I like, I go over the numbers. Like, we in a time where you don't have to wonder. You don't have to be in the dark. You got a report and a scan of everything you put out somewhere. You can always say, okay, I might not be doing good in this area, but I'm doing good in this market. Let me put more money over here in Denver because they like me in Denver. I thought they was going to like me a little bit more in California, but they not right now. Let me go hard in Denver. And then that'll trickle down. Like, there's so many different ways that you can play it and look at it to figure out a win for you, rather than just saying, okay, it didn't line up the way I thought it should have. Lost, chalk it.
Right. But that goes back to saying that you have to be your own version of successful. Because if you're your own version of successful, you're willing to take a quote unquote loss and look at it as a lesson. And that's what I tell people all the time about myself. I'm like, you know, they're like, how do you keep going? How do you this? How do you maintain? I'm like, because things that other people would break other people don't break me. It actually motivates me, like you said, to figure out, okay, why didn't this work? All right. Oh, that's what happened. Let me do it different the next time. Okay. It's not a loss. It's just like you said, people in California are saying, we don't like this song, but we like this song. We don't like this song. You know what I mean? So it like that, artists have to think about that too. It's like, since you brought up the market, like a track may do better in Atlanta, and then you take it to New York, and New York likes a completely different sound. So it's like, okay, this is my New York track, this is my Atlanta track, and I'm going to push it like that. Instead of trying to keep pushing what you think the crowd wants to hear or your audience wants to hear. I think that's the other part of being successful is not being so cocky that you can't listen to your audience or those around you if you don't have yes men. Because some people have yes men, but if you don't have yes men around you, listen to your people, they're real, and actually letting your audience and your customers dictate what they want from you. Because they're saying, we like you, we just don't like that song, but we like this song. And I think some people fail that way because they don't like to listen. And it's not that hard.
What you just said spoke to me in like so many different ways. Like I literally, everything that I do in terms of music, I do because of somebody that's a fan of mine told me at a point where I was down on myself about something. They told me they liked something. And it made me say, oh, you like that? Let me do that again. And then somebody else liked it. Like my ad-lib that I do all the time, Kate. That was a girl I worked with. One day I had gone to like a listening session at Universal, and it didn't go any way where I thought it was gonna go. Like I went there thinking like, oh man, it's gonna be something. I'm gonna be through the roof after this. Like, everybody's gonna be good after this meeting. Man, that thing went everything but good. And I left, and I was like really discouraged. Like I wanted to quit doing music. Like every piece of music that I had in my mailbox at the time, I deleted everything. Like I was sick. Like I'm like, man, it just might not be for me to do music.
Right.
And I go to work, and my coworker knew that I was going to Universal the day before. I never forget it. It was because it was on September 11th that I went to Universal. So September 12th, I'm in the office and I'm talking to her, and she's like, how did the meeting go? I'm like, man, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not doing music no more. She's like, you're not doing music no more? What? That is crazy.
Right.
It's like, if nothing else, let's say they might not have liked what you do, but that doesn't mean somebody else won't. And outside of that, maybe you should take some of the things that they say into consideration, because these are people that are in the industry and everything is not negative. Sometimes people say things that actually can be helpful, but at the time it's not things we want to hear, so they don't seem helpful at the time. And she was like, and that little ad-lib you do, that cake, I love that. Like, I don't hear nobody do that. I love it. And I said, not only did she pick me up from the place that I was, but she gave me encouragement about something that I was doing.
Right.
So knowing that I had an actual ear and a fan that liked what I was doing at the time that much, that she could give me a specific example of something that I was doing that she liked, that motivated me and kept me going at the time. And it was like, okay, so this is what it is. You take those losses, something happens to encourage you back. Like, and then sometimes you might not have that person. You might have to be that extra word.
Right.
You need to keep that going. But don't let no experience stop you from doing something that you want to do if you truthfully want to do it.
Absolutely. And when like I grew up going to performing art schools, and I grew up in a creative family, and something that I have little bitty bits of gems that I've taken along the road with me. And I know in theater they always tell you that you know, when you stand on the side of the curtain, they're like, if you can see the audience, that means that they can see you. So a certain spot backstage that you can see the audience, but they can't see you. So I always would use that, one of those, because my mom has a bunch of gems that I keep with me, but that's something that I always use when I get turned down for something and I get discouraged, like you said, and you may not have people around you that knew that you had a big meeting and it didn't go well, and you kind of keep it to yourself. So for me, I always think about that analogy that I learned in theater, like if you can see the audience, they can see you, but there's a certain spot that you can stand where you can peek the audience and they can't see you. And you have to tell yourself sometimes that I feel like I lost at this meeting, so I wanted to give up, but what you fail to realize is that no one else was there but you and whoever came with you. So you saw the loss, but your audience didn't. You know what I mean? There's losses that people like entertainers take in front of the world, and they got to get their publicist to put out a statement. But there's a lot of losses that they take behind the scenes that you don't see, and you see their blockbuster movie come out, you know? And or they do an interview and they say, hey, you know, I auditioned for the role of Batman and I didn't get it. If they never told us that they didn't get it, we would have never known. We would have just looked at it. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Like, your supporters don't see your losses, your fans don't see your losses unless you tell them.
Right. That's true.
That's true. Yeah, you know, being human, I tell people all the time, it's okay to be human and be mad, sad, cry, hurt, whatever, as long as if what you're really doing is something that you really love and you know that you have people out there that genuinely rock with you, take that loss like you did, figure out, okay, let me really get out once I'm done having my emotions, let me go back and really think about what they said. Let me see if I took some notes. Let me read through these notes and look at the pros of the meeting and the cons of the meeting. And what can I take from that and do better? Because no one saw that loss but me. You got to think of it like that, too.
Not only did nobody see that loss but me, but from that, I literally had to start from A. Like, it wasn't like I was at Q. I had to start from A to get to Z.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to do that. Like, it's, all right, I know I should restart from A and just, but no, I'm happy with what I'm doing. So I'm going to confuse myself to think I'm at least close to Z. No, you're not.
Right.
If your reception is not at least at 40% when you put stuff out, you got to get back to that lab. There's something there.
Yes.
you gotta be able to hit some marks. Like you gotta be able to have expectations and be able to quantify whether you're hitting those marks or not. And the only way you can do that is if you're looking at it and you're looking in the mirror and saying, I wanted to do this, did I do that?
Absolutely. And that's something else, as we're getting towards the end of the interview, that I want artists and anyone that's in the industry or doing anything creative to take away from it. If what you were doing was right this whole time, you'd be further than where you are. So there's nothing wrong with taking advice and information from people that have been there and done that. So, you know, a lot of times artists don't want to hear people, but it's like, you've been doing this alone by yourself for a long time, and you are still where you are.
Right.
It's time to take some feedback. So, you brought us the track Yer. So tell us about Yer. Like, tell us about it.
Yer is a very, it's an incredible track because I literally got that beat like a week before this project was supposed to come out.
Okay.
And it came together in a way where I was like, oh, that might be the first single. Like, like I was like, how did I get this? And it just worked. And then I was watching something on, I was watching Just Blaze talk on YouTube about Jay-Z and public service announcement, PSA, on the Black Album. And he was saying that Jay-Z was doing press run for the Black Album, like it was done. Like they were like, you know, these are the songs. Just Blaze makes the beat, finds the sample, makes the beat, sends it to Jay-Z, he hears it. And throughout his press runs, he's running back into the studio, putting bars on this beat. Like 2 bars here, 8 bars here, come back, take those 8 off, put 10 more. And it had me in a frame of mind like, that's kind of how that Yer came about. Because literally, I was working from home, literally with my microphone, my headset from work, and my microphone like this. Like, I'm recording in between calls from work.
Right.
And got it done.
Yeah, listen, that's why I tell people all the time, respect people's creativity and their creative outlets. Because like you said, you never see the behind the scenes work that goes into what they put out. So I'm going to make sure we play at the end, everything. We're going to play Yer so that people can hear Yer. But introduce the track for me, and then when I post the interview, they'll hear the track. But we're going to play the track on air. But go ahead and introduce Yer. Tell them a little bit about it. Tell them about the project that it's on, and then we'll make sure we get it on the air for you.
This is my song Yer, produced by Ghost Zone Beats from B-More. Shout out to them. Crazy. It's on my new project, New York Cake. If you're a fan of real hip-hop, not saying that everybody don't do real hip-hop, but that New York hip-hop, like when New York started hip-hop, and people were like rapping and not just making sounds on beats, like rap, you're going to love New York Cake. You're going to love New York Cake.
I knew it by the title. I'm like, this is New York. I didn't even listen to it yet. I saw the title. I said, this New York. I knew it.
See, and believe it or not, you kind of inspired me to make this project. Believe it or not. Because
are you serious?
The last interview we had, you chimed in numerous times throughout that interview saying how you miss New York hip-hop. Like, you miss authentic, for real New York hip-hop. And I was in a space when we did that interview where I felt like I was kind of on the fence as to whether I wanted to still try to do that hip-hop or whether I was going to do more so what's going on now. And having that conversation with you being in another market, it made me feel confident about doing that. Because I said, if there's somebody that's in another market and they feel that way about New York hip-hop, other people have to feel that way. Like, they have to feel that way. Let me go do what feels natural to me. And that's what felt natural.
Yes. Because like I said in that interview, like I'm a huge fan of New York hip hop. Like that's my ultimate favorite style of rap, period. And then it trickles down. But New York hip hop, that's what I grew up on. That's what I love. That's the first hip hop that I was introduced to when I was first introduced to hip hop. You know, my dad he worked in New York. He lived in Jersey, so that's just me. You know, that's just me. So I was real happy to see the title. I usually don't listen to the tracks until it's time for me to listen to them, like on air, so everybody can get my real reaction to it. But when I saw the title, I'm like, this got to be New York right here. This has got to be New York. But if you guys are just tuned in, guys know we have Korey Buckets. He's on the throne with me today. And next time, we got to get a whole hour because it's 30 minutes. We can't do this.
This 30 minutes wasn't nothing. We need a whole hour. Like, we got a lot to talk about.
We do. It's time for Freddie Lee. So, look, I'm going to have to talk to Picasso and be like, look, man, you're going to have to get Korey back, even if we do it off air, because this 30 minutes, this ain't how me and Korey roll. I'm with it.
But Freddie Lee is my guy, super talented. Freddie's by far one of the most talented artists that I personally know and had the pleasure of working with. I'm so excited about everything.
Man, listen, his projects, his marketing, everything, he's so creative. I love creative individuals. That last video, I watched it with my daughter, and he knows this. I commented on the video. I watched it with my daughter, and she was like, oh, Mom, she had the little head thing. She's like, she got a real man. It's like, I get it. I like this.
Yeah.
I like this. Yeah, Freddie Lee is super talented, so thank you so much. We got to do this.
We're going to do it again.
This weekend. We'll do part two.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Have a good day.